5, 4, 3. Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Okay.
We're live.
Great. Awesome. All right. Hey, blended community and anybody else who got their hands on this video. Mel here with Danielle and Cody, and we are going to get together every week to address some of the questions that you guys have posed to our coaches. And that could have been over to a coach or even maybe before this all started, just questions about training, about eating, about strength training, about motivation. I think we're all dealing with issues with motivation right now, so that's a great topic to start with. So if you want to tune in every week, then this is what we're going to do. And so if you watch this and some more questions pop up, feel free to send them over to us. Let's get started. Danielle's going to...
Okay, so one big worry that people have had and have been saying is that they're worried about two things. Worried about losing their muscles and worried about losing their strength. So interested to hear your thoughts on that and what you guys have to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really depends on, I think, what kind of training you were doing before and what kind of equipment you have at home, and what you can maintain as far as your training. So if you're someone like Blair, who is a power lifter and does strength training for the most part, and you take that person, you take them out of the gym and you give them a kettlebell, it would be really tough for someone like that to maintain their strength. But at the same time, Cody, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Blair's been training for strength training for like a year now, or longer than that. And he's created enough of a base that I don't think you'll see a very big dip in his strength, and whatever dip you do see, I don't think it'll take long to come back. So it really depends, I think, on what kind of training you were doing beforehand.
So let's say you now have no longer access to equipment. You've been doing class programming. So I've been coming to class, doing class programming. I've been doing the lifts. I've been seeing my lifts increase in class. And I now have no equipment. Unless I make up that equipment, I've got nothing, but I'm still doing the at-home workouts, but I'm just worried about losing strength and muscle. Am I going to? And
yes, probably. You're going to lose some strength. You're going to see some of your numbers go down, probably. And I think what you see aesthetically from your muscle definition, if you're doing the workouts every day or 5 times a week, I think that kind of depends on your nutrition as well. So if you see your muscle definition start to go, you might either be at a surplus of calorie intake or not eating nearly enough. And that could be from stress or time or anything like that. So both of those things will lead to you losing muscle definition. I'm a huge believer that if this is a worry of yours, you need to talk to your coach, right? So everybody has weaknesses, even before all of this happened. And there are things that you can work on that will allow you to either maintain your strength or gain it back faster when you come back. And that's kind of, I think, the more important thing to focus on. Not what you're losing, but what you can gain during this time to make sure that when you come back, your strength gains come back faster and ideally better, right? You get stronger than you've ever been before. I would say after coaching at Blended for as long as I have been now, I don't know how long we've been open, for that long, that almost everybody has a weak core issues, that if you're going to look at where your lifts are breaking down, where your strength is breaking down, where your movements are breaking down, we could probably almost always point to a core issue. You can still have a strong core and it be not strong relative to the rest of your body and cause issues with your strength training. And I don't think that you need any equipment at home to work on your core strength. You can literally do breathing exercises and improve your core strength at home to give you a better base for when you come back. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stop there and let Cody jump in. Yeah. Cody actually knows more than me. I just talk more.
The breathing is a big thing there. I'll kind of touch on that as well. Is not only could you potentially improve like your core strength at home, especially a lot of our members and newer trainees, there's still going to be a lot of opportunity to improve core strength at home with just body weight exercises, but breathing in particular, a lot of our members and people who are new to strength training don't fully know how to breathe and brace properly. Something you could be doing simply at home is learning how to do that well. And that's an area where even something like push-ups, where people are probably doing lots of push-ups and stuff like that at home. Like for me in today's workout that I did 5 sets of push-ups, and I was doing 8 to 10 reps, doing them very slow, very controlled. I was like squeezing my core, bracing as hard as I could, and it was really tough. Like, you can make these movements a lot harder if you basically put more effort into it. I think it's easy to fall into the trap here of, well, you're at home workouts and you're doing, like you see the push-up challenges online, and that's all great. People doing 150 push-ups a day or whatever. If you're just kind of going through the motions and skirting through them, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. But you can make a lot of these bodyweight movements pretty tough. And if you're concerned primarily about maintaining muscle, then the biggest thing you want to look for is training as close to failure as you can without going directly to failure if you want to train every day. Or if you're okay with training just, say 4 times a week or something, you could go to failure on like push-ups, things like that, bodyweight exercises, a couple times a week and still have time to recover. So in that context, like if you're training intensely with just bodyweight movements or with minimal equipment, you can still maintain a fair bit of muscle mass. Like a lot of bodybuilders don't do heavy squats and deadlifts and things like that. They just train light always. That's where the nutrition is going to be a big part. To kind of piggyback on what you said, Mel, if your main thing is on muscle, it's going to be in the kitchen. To keep that, if you're eating at a deficit, you're going to lose muscle even if you're training. It's just like the training could help slow it, but if you're eating adequate amount of protein, you're eating at maintenance, or in a surplus, you're going to hold on to muscle a lot longer, and you'll be able to ride this out quicker. I think a big thing that I see, in terms of the strength, especially in the muscle, is people, I think they underestimate how long these adaptations are going to stay around, and they overestimate how long it's going to take to build back the progress that they may have made in the past. So they think I've been away from the gym 2 or 3 weeks, I've lost all my strength. No. Yeah, if you went back to the gym tomorrow and squatted after all this layoff, you're not going to PR your squat, but you're probably only 3 or 4 weeks away right now from being back to exactly where you were. And I think even if this does drag on for more weeks or more months, realistically when the gym opens back up, 8 to 12 weeks, you could PR again. And especially for most of our class people who aren't really experienced trainees, especially in strength training, it's not going to take that long to build back the strength they have built, especially if they're during the time they realize that, hey, maybe you're sitting home, you're like, I really care about strength, I'm really concerned about it, then maybe when the gym opens back up, you should focus more on training that way. And then if you do that when the gym opens back up, you're going to gain it back a lot quicker and then start to progress past where you were when the gym closed. So
I think these are both excellent highlights, what you guys are both saying. I think it's really important right now, Cody, what you're saying is determine why you're training. I think a lot of people right now, we're figuring out why we train, what's important in our training, and also focusing on what we can control, I think is a very valuable point, Mel. And that also there was a question about people who see that other people have more equipment and they feel like those people are getting a better workout. Well, you know what? The reality is maybe those people aren't focusing on their weaknesses either. Yes, it's great if you have access to it. If you don't have access to it, here's what you can focus on. Even if you have access to equipment, there's so many things we can help our members with during this time. And I think, Cody, you said this very well in your video that you posted the other day, just keep the lines of communication open with your coach. If you don't have a coach, any one of us would be happy to help you and answer your questions. So just reach out to us. If you're not currently a member right now at Blended, we still care about you and we still want to help you. So please like reach out. We'd be happy to answer your question.
Like, oh, like I'm not getting like as good of a workout as people with equipment. Well, yeah, no shit. Like those people have a bunch of equipment. That's why you pay a gym membership. It's like, but it's not valuable to use your time to complain about what other people have. Like when there's all these other things you could be focused
on. So maybe I can talk about that. So a question or something that's been brought up is that some members feel like they don't have access to, or some people feel they don't have access to as much equipment as other people have. Mel, you touched on core. Cody, you touched on breathing. What are some tools or some things we could give those who maybe don't have access to as much equipment, things they can work on to come back to blended better?
Yeah. So basically every question that you ask or that people are asking, I'm going to go back to the very first thing that will help you with your training is your mindset. So if you are consistently focusing on what you don't have or what you can't do or what you might lose, first of all, training's going to suck, right? You're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be, no one wants to be doing something that's difficult anyway. And then on top of that physicality of it being difficult, have negative thoughts in their mind the whole time. Like, no professional athlete ever made it to where they made it by telling themselves that they suck, or this sucks, or I wish I had Kobe Bryant's parents. I don't know, that I would have had more drive. Like, that's just not how you can be successful. So mindset is so important. I know it's a shitty time. I know shit is crazy and things are so out of our control. But what you do have that's under your control is your mindset, and you can change that. You can, if you need a coach to tell you what are the positive things that you do have or that you can do or the things that you can get better at, ask them, because it's going to ultimately change all of this and how you feel working out and how you come back to the gym. So that's always my first go-to. I'll let Cody go and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah, I agree. Something interesting would be to talk about the mindset aspect and visualization as well. And when people talk about oh, I don't have what's available to me, there's lots of bodyweight stuff we could be doing. There's things there's probably more things available to them than they might think off the top of their head. Especially if you're in the kind of mindset that you're thinking oh, well, I don't have what this person has, or I don't have what that person has, then you're not in a mindset where you're looking for what you do have and trying to maximize that. So right off the bat, you're putting yourself in a place where you're fighting against yourself to make the progress that you're saying that you want to make, or to make the adjustments that you're saying you want to make. So it starts by looking inward, thinking, saying am I looking at this with a positive mindset and trying to address the things that I can do? Or am I looking at this and just complaining about what's been taken away? Because you can't just sit there and be oh, well, I don't have this, so woe is me. I guess I'll lose all my strength and do nothing. It's if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But then you kind of can't complain when the gym opens back up that you lost all your strength. There's things you definitely could be doing at home. I know I've read some research. I wish I kind of had it here to get the exact the data on it, but visualization, they've taken people who've been seriously injured, or just they've taken athletes as control groups and they've done it with a couple different sports, with things like strength training has come up before, where you have one group who is actively doing a strength training program, and you have another group whose only training would be a visualization exercise, which they're doing at rest outside of a gym. Then you have another group who's training and doing visualization. And what they usually find is that the people who are doing visualization of different sport techniques usually come back and make similar progress to people who are actually doing the sport. So it kind of goes to show you that there is a lot of things you could be doing, and it's tough to learn how to visualize at that level. But it's not a situation where you're just going to completely lose all your strength because you don't have access to a squat rack. Maximize the things you can be doing. Use your body weight. Use whatever implements you have at home, and then make that difficult enough so that you're going to be able to progress it.
Agreed. I have never read a study about visualization. I just did it, and I do it all the time. So as a competitive athlete, I've injured myself very seriously so many times, and that's because I train on the edge, and I've always trained on the edge to be the best I can be, and that leads to injury. It can, and it did for me several times. So I spent a lot of my CrossFit career, or my weightlifting career, just visualizing my best snatch, or visualizing a ring muscle up. So even like recently, I did my first ring muscle up on the rings before this all happened, and it had been like, I don't even know how long, like a couple years. But I did it on my first try. My second try. And that's because every day I imagine myself doing the muscle up. I imagine not just what it looks like, but what it feels like. I imagine what my hands do. I imagine what my hips are supposed to do. I imagine that feeling. And because one, it brought me joy because I couldn't physically do it. And then two, I thought if I could ever physically do this again, then I better imagine what it feels like so that I don't forget, right? And just simple stuff like that really works. So visualization is huge. It seems silly, but it really does make a huge difference. And it's also positive self-talk. So if you can see yourself doing something, you're more likely going to do it rather than the opposite. But when it comes back to actually training, there are things that you can do, like Cody said, make your training more difficult. So things that I've been doing in Cody's program right now that I haven't done in a long time, that is just like creating games for me. And I think like there's number games that it's creating, but I think what I'm actually happier with is the technique games that it's creating. So that's like tempo work and pause work. And those things suck. Like there's nothing I hate more than doing a pause deadlift. It sucks. Like sometimes Blake doesn't lift me, and sometimes he goes, F this, I'm leaving because I hate this, and I don't blame him. But man, does it ever make you stronger. And it doesn't have to be heavyweight, and you can do it with a kettlebell if you wanted to. But adding pause work and adding tempo work, that's why we do it in class, it makes you stronger, right? Time under tension makes you stronger. You don't need to have heavy weight in order to get stronger. It also creates better positions. It's really important, if you don't know what a good position is, to have a coach provide you with feedback. So the best thing about TrueCoach is that you can take a video and upload it. So if you want to do pause and tempo work, highly suggest that you video it for your coach so that they can give you feedback and little fixes. But yeah, so that's my biggest thing. Is like, if you have a 53-pound kettlebell, you should be doing goblet squats with tempo or pause. You can do holds overhead. You can slow down the eccentric movement of a banded press, right? All of those things are going to make you stronger, and they're also going to like help you with the stabilizing parts of your body that we don't normally work on when we just do like compound, like back squats and deadlifts and presses, right? So, I mean, like Cody said, like if you slow down your push-ups or you did a static hold in a plank, there's a reason that planks are so good for you. It's not just for your core and your abs. It also stabilizes your shoulders and your back. So yeah, I would highly recommend tempo and pause work.
Yeah, it's great. Like on the push-up example, like something that I've prescribed to some of the people who've wanted more strength work and don't have stuff at home is like, if you start your push-up, if you're doing, instead of just doing like a set of 8 like push-ups as fast as you can, like a lot of people would, like that's not going to be that difficult. But if you start your push-up and you have a 5-second pause at the top, and then you have a 5-second negative until you're an inch away from the floor, and then you hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, add an inch away from the floor, and then push back up explosively, do that for 8 or 10 reps, you're probably going to be roasted. Even if you can normally do like 20 or 30 push-ups in a CrossFit WOD, like do it that way, and you're going to be toasted for sure. Like your triceps, your shoulders, your abs, everything will be burning by that 8th rep. So that's like something simple as like, you know, I think there's going to be a little separation here. There's a lot of people in our membership who might be looking at the at-home workouts and like they might be thinking like, oh, am I going to lose my progress? Like, is this a bad thing? But like they might not actually care that much about losing strength. And if you're one of the people who doesn't deep down care a whole lot about losing strength right now, and you just want to move for the sake of moving because exercise is beneficial for you mentally and physically and it's going to help you during this time, then just like move by all means, right? Maybe one day it's a walk, maybe do the blended workouts if you want to go through it. Like, of course you want to move well and you want to move safely, but you don't need to put all this extra pressure on yourself to be trying to do things like above and beyond to gain strength or maintain strength at this time if you don't actually care about it. And I know not everybody in our membership actually cares about strength, because like I see all of you like in the gym every day. Like, I know most of you don't really care about your max strength that much. You want enough strength so that your lifestyle isn't changed. And that's a much lower threshold than what we're kind of referencing when we're talking about maintaining or maximizing your strength during this time. So I think that's something important to think about, where it's like, when I look at how I'm going to train right now and what I can do to hold on to my strength for when I get back, it's in the context of, I want to be able to get back to squatting like the most weight possible as fast as possible so I can prepare for competitions like where I'm competing in strength. So it's a little bit of a different conversation. I know there are people in the membership who actually do like really want to maximize their strength potential, and that's an awesome goal. But if you don't care about it, that's fine too. Like, we're not saying you have to care about your strength. You should be doing strength training in some form because it has a whole host of benefits for you physically and mentally, but you don't need to be treating it like from a competitor's level or like that kind of mindset if that's not in alignment with what you really want. Like, you can just do it for the sake of, kind of like moving and treat it as exercise versus training. So I think it's important during this time too to look inward again and figure out why you're training, like we talked about earlier, and like, what is exercise doing for you, right? It's okay if it's just like right now, if you're exercising for the sake of exercising and you just want to move, like, that's great.
I think that's a great point, and I think like that just wraps it up, like, take some time to think about what your goals are and what's important to you right now, I think is what's most important. It's very easy right now to be looking left and right and to be looking at what other people are doing, especially when we're home, especially when we're on social media. We're getting our fix for connecting with people by looking at what they're doing, and that's okay. But like, I think it's really important to focus inward on yourself and limit your time looking left and right, and don't let it like discount or undervalue what you're doing. I think is a big thing. So I think taking some time to reflect on what's important to you and why you're training is really what this is all about. Any lasting words, Mel or Cody?
No, I love this. I love hearing from our members. I love hearing about your guys' concerns. It's the same thing in the gym, right? You can't just walk up and ask us. So please keep sending in these questions and concerns. And there's nothing that's off topic. Like, we'll talk about nutrition, we'll talk about injuries, we'll talk about mental health, like anything, right? So just keep sending them our way, and we'll, in the meantime, figure out like a really cool way to sign off on these.
Yeah.
So something to kind of add to this, like I just thought about saying that, is like, if you are a person who's worried about losing your strength at this time, and you don't have any equipment, learn how to cook and learn how to sleep as well as you can, right? Yeah. Because if you're actually concerned about being as strong as you possibly can be, the two most important things you can do are to sleep well and to eat properly, regardless of whether the gym's, you're in or out of the gym. When the gym opens back up, if you go back into a strength training program and you're not eating right and you're sleeping, like you're undersleeping and not recovering, you're not going to get strong anyway. So those are the two biggest drivers of strength, in my opinion. Like, obviously you do have to train, but you can have the best program in the world and you can follow it to a T. If you're under eating and you're under sleeping, you're not going to get strong anyway. You're just like putting a ceiling on your own potential. Yeah.
Awesome.
So those would be two big ones. So if you do have questions on like sleep routines or nutrition, anything like that, feel free to reach out to any of us. I think to kind of wrap up a few things that we did go over today, talked about adding tempos to things, and that could be even the strength work that we've been putting out, the class workout style, stuff like that. Feel free to make that more difficult by adding longer tempos, adding more pauses, or ask your coach for an idea on how to make that a little tougher. Something simple, seemingly simple, but Daryl touches on it a lot in classes, that just like basically using more tension within your body. Like, if you're doing a goblet squat or an air squat, like, are you Are you grabbing the floor with your feet? Are you squeezing your legs? Are you squeezing your quads, squeezing your hamstrings, squeezing your butt, like trying to cement yourself into the ground? Are you actively engaged and flexing your core and your abs and everything? Are you tight, or are you just moving up and down? Because that's two different things. And that could be the difference right now between exercise and training, is the amount of intention and effort you put into each exercise, regardless of the equipment you have. Even if you have all the equipment, if you're kind of going through the motions, you're not going to maximize your strength anyway. So this is a good time to learn how to build tension with just your body weight, so that when you do have a barbell back in your hands or on your back, you're going to be a lot stronger because you know how to move more efficiently, and you're going to create more tension. So adding tempo, adding pauses, learning how to build tension, learning how to breathe and brace, which is huge. So real quick on that, essentially what you're trying to do is fill up full 360 degrees around your midsection. So kind of like where your belly button is. If you want to get full 360 degrees around there, you're going to be bracing and filling that up with air. So it's almost like if you can imagine blowing up a balloon inside your body, and you're trying to get pressure outward in all 360 degrees. It's not just pushing your stomach forward, and it's definitely not sucking your stomach in and like breathing up in the chest. You want to be breathing down in the diaphragm, like below your belly button. So that's something you can work on. You can practice. There's 90-90 breathing is a good drill for that. You can message any of us. We'll send you some more ideas. There's lots of videos on YouTube to find out how to breathe and brace properly under a barbell, and all those same techniques work whether you're doing kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell, doesn't matter. Really important to learn how to do that. So I think those are the biggest things. And then learn how to cook, learn how to sleep, if you're not already good at those things. And if you are good at those things, you could be better. And if you nail all that stuff, visualization.
Mindsets are also very important, because none of that shit is going to be applicable to you if all you can think about is how much everything sucks.
100%.
Especially you, right? If you think you suck, or you're sucking right now, none of that's applicable.
Yeah, if you think you suck, you're right.
And that's how we'll sign off.
Okay, I'll stop this.
So then you'll know, like, how long into the video it is that this clip is.
Okay, well, I just started it again because I stopped the recording.
Oh, so, okay, it's a new one.
Yeah. We're recording. So the question is, what did I say? I don't know if I'm getting stronger or not. How do I know if I'm getting stronger or not?
Yeah, like it's a great question. How do you? You have to test and retest something. So like if you don't have any frame of reference or no point, it's like, well, yeah, if you're just kind of floating through day by day and you're not referencing anything, then you won't know if you're getting stronger or weaker. Like you need to have an anchor for that. It doesn't have to be back squat, bench press, deadlift, whatever that we do in class. It could be other things. It could be body weight standards. It could be, reps of a body weight movement, something like that. But you need to be testing and retesting something. Body weight movements especially, you can recover from really quickly. So you could be retesting that every, 3 weeks or something. Every 3-4 weeks, you could retest max push-ups or max plank, something like that. If you have a kettlebell or dumbbell, you could be testing goblet squats at a given tempo for a given amount of reps, time under tension, something like that. If you have a kettlebell, you could be testing your max unbroken Russian kettlebell swings. That's strength endurance, right? Strength isn't only your 1 rep max back squat. There's, strength endurance. How long can you maintain your strength and power output at a given weight? There's power as well. Like you could be testing your max height vertical jump. If you don't have any injuries and like that. If that's one thing we forgot to address in the strength part too. Like if you're concerned about being strong and you have no equipment right now, but you can jump, you can develop more power by jumping, and that's going to make you stronger in your back squat, especially when you get back to training. Or if you want to get better at the snatch and clean and jerk and you're not doing jump training right now, start doing that. Message one of the coaches. If you want to find something online and send it to us, or just send us a message. We'll help you out. We'll give you some ideas. Like I'm not an expert on jump training and training for vertical power, but I give you some basic kind of guidelines, or at least point you in the direction of another person who would know more. But like power and jumping, like those are great pairs to do with squatting. I do a lot of jump training normally in the gym anyway, so like you just do it now.
Yeah. Sebastian's really good at jump stuff.
Yeah, he's great.
Cool.
I call it jump stuff.
Yeah.
We don't know the technical term for it.
That is the technical jump stuff.
Jump stuff.
But yeah, reel it back in, test something, and then retest it. And if you get better, you got stronger. If you didn't get better, you got weaker.
Yeah, it's like how do you know you're strong in the first place, right?
Yeah, and then if you're not making progress or you're going back, then going back to the initial points, mindset, sleep, food. Those are the things you can control.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's one important thing with testing too. If you're testing something and you slept 2 hours the night before, don't expect to do well on that test. So be reasonable with yourself as well.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of this stuff is common sense.
Yeah. You better be a fucking mindset guru if you had a shitty sleep and you want to PR your lift. Like, you better be the kind of person that's like got a bar on their back and is like, well, it's on my back, so I'm doing it.
Like you today.
Yeah, basically. Yes, but I've trained for the last 10 years to get there. Mm-hmm. And like, I post videos of me lifting weights and I get messages back from like people that I look up to who are really great at CrossFit in the community around here. And, you know, the comment's not about the number that I put up. The comment is like, so what are you saying to yourself? Like, what's going on in your head? I recognize that you could have stopped, but you didn't. And like, that's the progress that they see within me. It's not the number, it's the head games that I'm winning in the moment. And like, that's what people at a high level are talking about. That's what we all should be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really cool to point out. Is that especially that it's like those, like, the best people in the area are asking questions about what are you saying to yourself before you're approaching the bar. Mm-hmm. They're not asking questions about like, you know, what are you thinking about, like, like something totally different, or like, oh, what's your tempo last week for your back squat, or like, you know, how long did you rest between? They're thinking about mindset in between. It's huge, and the better you get, the more you realize that's important. So for someone if anyone's watching this and you're just kind of starting your journey into strength training, especially and your goal is to be as strong as possible, like, start working on mindset and visualization right now, and you'll be way better off long term.
Yeah, there's no room for self-doubt in max anything.
Yeah, no one accidentally PR'd their snatch.
I mean, everyone's surprised when they do it because it's been years of work towards that moment, and it feels so good when you do it properly. But it's never like an actual surprise or like a fluke. It's always like, yeah,
you put the weight on the bar. You, at least some part of you thought you were going to be able to lift it.
It's true.
Yeah. All right.